Y'all, I didn't even know there was this whole other controversy going on with the whole Ts Madison and Nene Leakes interview. It's still going on. So this video is specifically about this conversation about when Nene said she doesn't want to date somebody who dates a trans woman. And I think we got to talk about just people personal preference. If that's Nene preference, that's her preference. There's actually nothing wrong with her statement. But before we really dive into it and do a review on it, let's go ahead and play the intro. Please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. All right. So before we start, let me just say this. As you guys know, if you follow me in politics, you know that I am super liberal. So please don't get in here saying ignorant stuff. You will be blocked. Now, you're allowed to have an opinion, but just be careful with what you say because no transphobia, racist, all the all that shit, we ain't playing that. So don't even try it in my chat. But let's go ahead and get into the video. So this part I specifically got to where Nene says that she wouldn't date somebody who messed with Ts Madison or knows her in that kind of way. So let's get to it.
Would you date him if I know him?
Yeah, that doesn't. Do you only know gay men?
Well, I don't date gay men.
Well, okay. Well, I when you guys be saying that, that's weird.
Why?
Because what do you mean you don't date gay men? Because if he is sleeping with you and sleeping with a woman, he's something.
Well, he's not gay.
What is he?
He's definitely not gay.
He's bi?
Listen, because if a man come in here and he looks at me and you.
Yeah. What is he?
Well, he likes women.
Yeah, because he doesn't know.
And if he does know, he likes women.
Okay.
Now,
but what is he?
Well, that would possibly, it's a possibility.
He's bisexual?
He could be bi or he could be pan.
Now, I think they're having two different conversations because I agree with both of them, right? So if I see what appears to be a woman, we're not going to say cis, biological, whatever, but the aesthetic of a woman and she looks good, I'm going to be like, oh, she looks good, right? But on the other hand, where Nene is coming from, well, if he's looking at you, then he must want the meat. And y'all know what I mean by the meat. I'm trying not to say too much, this video probably not going to be monetized, but he wants the stick. If he's attracted, and I get where Nene is coming from, if he's attracted to Ts Madison, then he must want the stick. We're not thinking, what is it called? What's the proper terminology? Post-op, pre-op, like he specifically wants something extra, So I get where Nene is coming from, but what Ts Madison is saying that, okay, well, you can't assume that he's gay because he likes a woman. But like I said, on the other hand, if he's specifically looking for the meat, then he's something, right?
Okay, what was pan? I forgot. That means you be whatever you like, whatever you like.
Hearts, not parts.
Right. So whatever you see, you like, whatever I'm on, that's what I'm on today.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
A lot of men are a lot of men are pan, but they don't say anything. Like
I don't want to run into them. I don't want to date him.
Nene, if you've dated
I need you to like
Nene, if you've
Hello
dated
Kitty
if
all
you,
the time.
If you've dated men,
yes.
If you've dated men, there's a possibility in your life that
he's been with a man.
He's been with something.
What do you mean he's been with something?
He's been outside. I mean, here's the thing. I know that women consider trans women men because we were born male. But there's a difference between being man and male.
I get it. But you have your parts.
That's correct.
So he can love you and think you're so beautiful. And I want to sit with you.
There are men who deal with me that won't touch my parts. Anytime you see
But does he know it's there?
Yeah, he knows it's there. I'm not hiding it.
Oh, you're not?
No.
I mean, that wouldn't make any sense.
Well, I've had gentlemen to tell me, hey, put a pillow over that. And I'm like, well, you're not the nigga for me. You don't have to touch it and deal with it, but I'm not hiding shit from you.
So, okay, wait a minute. We gotta go back and figure this out.
Yeah.
And I think it's important too. you got to find somebody that loves you for you. And so I understand what Ts Madison is saying as far as like, okay, well, if you don't like that, then I'm not the person for you. And then with Nene, she's like, okay, well, if that's what he wants, then because I think it gets into the situation where, like, okay, if you're trans attracted, that means that you are attracted to the penis. That's the honest conversation. And I know the trans community will say, oh, well, just because I have this doesn't invalidate or not make me a woman. And listen, I'm not trying to say that I would disrespect you or misgender you or anything like that. But I think where most people come from is like, okay, well, if the man wants this, then he must want men at the end of the day because he likes a penis. And from what we understand is that a male has a penis. So that's where, and I don't want to say this stuff is new, but it is an uncomfortable conversation. But I think having a conversation about it, we can come to a mutual agreement or a mutual understanding. I don't think anything is wrong with having a conversation. Like their conversation, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. They're just having it publicly. These are conversations that most people will have behind closed doors. And most of the time, we're not going to even use the correct terminology or anything like that. Even right now, when I'm talking about it, I'm trying to be careful and mince my words, but I know still people are probably going to be offended by what I'm saying, right? Let's continue.
So the man,
now we talking.
Yeah, so the man gonna be sleeping with me and you. I don't want to talk to him no more.
You don't?
No.
Because
see, he's not telling me the truth. 9 times out of 10, the guy seemed like he would come and tell me that he's bisexual. So what if he never told me? Isn't he lying to me? You said they wake up and lie.
They do.
So he woke up and lied.
But how is it? How can we make men comfortable to even say that they find other things outside?
I don't know, but I feel like he should tell me what he likes.
But here's the thing: you might demonize him for telling.
I won't. I just probably won't be with him.
Yeah, that is correct. And then men risk. They risk losing that. There's some men that have experiences, just like there are women.
Talking about experiences, and I think this is kind of relevant to the Diddy situation. For those of you who don't, y'all should know by now, but for those of you who don't know, Diddy kind of used these women to live out his sexual fantasies with men. He would watch the girls engage with these men, but really he's like curious and into it. And so there is this conversation. If you as a man, I'm a man, say, oh, I've had an experience with this and that, most women be all like, well, let me not say most. Some women be like, oh, nah, I don't want that. So you get into this culture of where, and I don't want to say the DL culture, but like, okay, well, I'm just not going to tell you. Where in society, it's that double standard, because if a woman tells you that she messed with a woman, you're just like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I know for me, I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But if a man was to say, oh, well, I messed with another man before, it's like, oh, no. And I think, and I don't know if they mention it, but it's always that perception that if you mess with the man, you were probably the bottom. Like, y'all, we ain't gonna be PC. We just gotta say you was probably the bottom. You was the one receiving the gift rather than giving the gift. And women think about that. They go like, well, because if you're receiving the gift, and I'm trying to be so PC, if you're receiving the gift, then we kind of consider that like you are the woman in the relationship. And maybe in those terms that might be politically incorrect, but I think in society, especially from a hetero standpoint, right? You're thinking if you're receiving the gift, then you must be the woman in the relationship, which in turn it emasculates you, right? So that's what the woman is thinking. Oh, I'm gonna get in so much trouble for this. I think I'm just gonna cancel this. Let me know if I should just delete this whole video, y'all.
That have had an experience.
Well, why he can't do to me the same thing he doing to you?
Because I don't have a pussy.
But that's okay, you're right. I forgot. Okay.
I don't have pussy.
But he's coming over there looking at your beautiful hair and makeup. Well, he can't come over my house and see mine.
Well, yeah.
Well, what's going on?
Well, shit.
Why the hell you going to sleep with me, then going to sleep with you for?
Men like variety.
Oh, please. I don't want him.
Well, shit. I mean, hey, but it's happening.
I'm over it.
But these things, this is what women.
That's why I'm not even dating. I mean, I'm dating, but I'm not. I mean, I don't know.
But you know what the funny part is? Going back to something that Nene said, like, you know, it's one thing for a man to come and say, I'm bisexual, but if he's not telling me that he's, you know, messing with you and I think people took it like, oh, I don't want him because he's messing with you. She did say, like, if you upfront with her, that's one thing. But I think Nene was more or less talking about the secrecy of it, like not telling at all. That's what she's talking about. And I think people are all like, oh, you're transphobic because you say you didn't like. No, one, it's her preference. And I think she was just talking about the secrecy. I think that's really what it was. It just wasn't conveyed in a way that was palatable for everybody.
You can't hold yourself to a dating standard because you're afraid of a man. That's not the worst.
So you think it's okay for me to sleep with a guy that's sleeping like that?
Well, if he's sleeping,
having sex like that,
I don't know. I think that if he's bisexual, but here's the myth about bisexuality. Do you think
I should be taking PrEP? It's a PrEP?
Yes. I think that all women should be taking PrEP.
Really?
Yes.
Because a friend of mine told me she's taking it.
Tamar.
Yeah.
Yeah. She told me too. I think that all women should be taking PrEP. I think that all women should take whatever necessary safety precautions, whether the man identifies as heterosexual, bisexual, homosexual, pansexual. I think that all women should be taking the necessary.
So PrEP is, as I understand, what you take to prevent HIV from getting HIV and stuff like that. And so Ts Madison is telling her to take it. But I think that also takes the conversation into another place where I think also too, and it wasn't said here, or at least as I know, it wasn't said. It takes the conversation into, okay, if a man is messing with other men, then he must got the package, as they say. You know, he must got that stuff. But that's not true. Like, if you were messing with, now, if you're having unprotected sex, there's a possibility you're going to have diseases no matter what the gender is, right? And I think that's a real conversation that we have to have. Like, no matter what the gender is, if you're out there having sex, unprotected sex, then yeah, you can get a whole list of things. I think people just think about HIV and not think about all the other stuff that you can also get from having unprotected sex in general, you know? In general. So I could see where it kind of stereotypes. But if you're just saying like, hey, I just want to protect myself and make sure that I'm good, there's nothing wrong with that.
Precautions, because when women really understand that men are a creature of curiosity, they're a creature of if that dick get hard, they gonna fuck it.
Really? So is the PrEP gonna make me sick? Like,
well, the PrEP,
I don't know about all that if it get hard. Listen, I think we have to have an honest conversation. If you are attracted to somebody, you are attracted to them. No one can force you to be attracted to somebody that you're not attracted to. You are attracted to them, no matter what. Like, I don't think you can force somebody to be gay. You can't force somebody to be hetero. Like, if you're attracted to somebody, you're attracted to them. That's it at the end of the day. I wanted to go ahead and play one because I've seen this on Twitter where Maddie was actually talking about on her show this whole situation, because she said that she actually wouldn't be with a man who has been with other gay men or trans women. She wouldn't date somebody like that. So I want to get into that because it's interesting that even as a trans person, she wouldn't be into that either. So I wanted to kind of flip the other side of the coin and play it. So here we go. Let me stop it. And then let me pull it up. You know I'm a one-man show. I can't do this quickly, y'all. One-man show. Here we go. All right. And this is Fag Talk with her and Craig.
Who are innocent in their feelings and thoughts.
Uh-oh.
In that whole thing of whether or not a man is attracted to you and
I do believe that they have the right to have their preference. Women have the right to have preference.
Mm-hmm.
Trans women have the right to have preference. Men have the right to have preference. It becomes phobic when you start to say, "Ew, this is disgusting. Ew, this is nasty." That's when it becomes phobic.
Right.
That's where the phobia starts to set in, when it becomes like.
And Nene didn't say ew or nothing like that. She didn't say that.
Where you're trying to make it ill or nasty,
right?
Because
is it this one right here?
Yeah. When you try to make it nasty because someone is having an experience or they're having their own personal choices, that's when it becomes phobic.
Right.
Here's the thing: me as a transgender woman, I've told you this countless times, Mo. You and I have had this. We've had this personal conversation. My man is not getting fucked.
Now that's phobic.
Is that phobic or preference?
No, that's phobic.
It could be.
How is that phobic? No. I want to understand how it's phobic, though. I want to understand.
Because you know why it's phobic? Because we sit here and we tell straight women, just because you date a man who had an experience doesn't mean he's gay. And then she sit here talking about my man can't want to get fucked.
But she didn't say she wouldn't fuck with him.
Yeah, but her man can't. So why?
That's a preference,
but why should straight women?
No, but I did.
Hold on.
Okay.
But why should straight women be okay with a man who had an experience in college? If this bitch is saying,
but Craig,
let me say something. Knowing what the Diddy situation and what he liked, I know I'm referencing back to that. You will find women who don't give a damn or who don't care. And maybe with Diddy, it helped because he had money. But so there's a few content creators that I hear like certain subscribers say like, "Oh, I want to fuck him or whatever," and I'll be like, "Well, he likes the same thing you like. He likes men, right?" And they'll be like, "Oh, I don't care. Like, I would still like." Listen, I know there's a stigma that women wouldn't mess with a man who's been with other men and stuff like that, but at least on YouTube, these women are horny. They don't give a. Let me just say that they don't give a. All right, let's continue.
Her man
but come on, Mo, back me up, nigga. He can back me up. He can back you up, but then I mean he's right. He can back you up, but then I mean he's right. Come on, listen to Mo speak.
If you're just
hold on, Mo. If you let the straight man speak to the tranny,
I'm listening.
If you're just saying that I prefer for my man not to want to be fucked, that's just a preference.
Well, that's the same. That's the same thing that a cisgender woman, a natural born woman, can say. I prefer for my man to not have had his dick sucked.
But that's not what they're saying. But that's not what they're saying.
Well, okay,
okay, that's the point.
Let's just say
they're saying. I could never. There's a difference.
Okay, but there are straight women.
You're not listening.
I am listening.
You're not listening to it.
I am listening.
Bro, you're not listening to it in full contact.
I am listening.
Listen, it takes a straight man to get you together.
No, he's not. No, he's not. No. What I'm saying is there are straight women, natural born women, who have never said, "Ew, I could never be with a man who let another man suck his dick." She could just be like, "Well, no, I would prefer not to date a man who's bisexual. I would prefer to not date a man who's had his dick sucked. I would prefer to not date a man who's had an experience with another man."
Okay,
that's no different.
But that's essentially what Nene said. Like, it wasn't that she said, "Oh, no." It was just that she just was all like, "Oh, I'm not into that. I'm not interested in that," or "I don't want somebody who has been with you. Like, I don't want it." That's her preference. It wasn't like, "Oh my God," like she didn't do that. And Nene, I think we're so used to the character of her on Housewives, but her actual talk show, she keeps her composure. She's a professional. She's a true professional. So yeah, she didn't do none of that. Now, secretly, if Nene really feels a certain kind of way, like, "Oh, that's nasty," then hey, it is what it is. But still, she gave you what she likes and what she don't like. And what she said she likes, she doesn't want anyone who has messed with someone who is trans. That's it. Nothing wrong with that. And again, I think people are hyping it up because basically if you don't feel a certain kind of way, then you get criticized and ridiculed, right? So I'm going to tell you guys a story real quick. I had a friend, and I'm not friends with this person anymore. We had like a falling out. This woman, she was queer, right? And so she had posted this story, and it was like this article, right? And I want to show you guys this real quick. So it says, across a sample of heterosexual, lesbian, gay, bisexual, queer, and trans individuals, 87.5 indicated that they would not consider dating a trans person, with cisgender, heterosexual men and women being most likely to exclude trans persons from their potential dating pool. So the reason why I bring that up is because the queer person was saying, like, well, how come you wouldn't date a trans person or a trans woman? And I was all like, because I'm not attracted to that. That's not what I like, right? I was all like, I have not, like, because I think when people say, people think because you wouldn't date somebody that, oh, that means that you're against them and you hate them, you're this, you're that. And it's all like, no, that's not my preference. That's not what I want. And I think there's nothing wrong with telling people what your preference is or what you like. There's nothing wrong with that. What is the problem with that? Now, there's a way that you can say it and go about it. But again, I do not think Nene Leakes is transphobic or anything like that. And Ts Madison is telling you what she's not wrong for what she says she liked. She's not wrong at all. Let's play a little bit more, see if they say anything else, and then we'll end the show after this. But please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys like in the conversation. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say in the chat.
Different than her saying, "Oh, my man can't have any interest in the."
No, there is a big difference.
No,
I didn't say, because here's what I didn't say. I didn't say I wouldn't date. I wouldn't have. What that woman said, I'm not having any dealing with him at all. I didn't say I'm not having any dealing with him.
Okay, but
when you start looking at somebody with like disgust,
and vitriol,
that's when you start getting.
But there are women who are like, I might fuck with him.
No.
Listen, let me say that. Let me say it. Hold on. I'm about to give you a real life. I'm about to give you a real.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop it right here because I feel like they're talking about two different things. Because if you're talking about the Nene Leakes situation, then talk about her situation. There was nothing wrong with what Nene did or said. I don't think there was anything wrong with it. Now, if you want to generalize and say, well, I've heard things where women say things like this and that, then yeah, that's a conversation for a different day. But to respond to the viral clip where Nene is getting backlash, like, there's nothing wrong with what Nene said. That was an adult conversation. Those are conversations that we have behind closed doors, but nobody wants to have them allowed because they're worried about getting canceled or, being policed into having to have this certain thought process or they're a bad person. I feel like we need to have more open and honest conversations like this. And it's nothing wrong with having a little discourse or having a difference of opinion. It's nothing wrong with that. As long as at the end of the day, you respect each other, that's all that matters. But again, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you like what you heard or seen. Also, no ignorant in my chat. No, please do not. You will get blocked. I appreciate y'all for being here. Thank you for watching, but we out. Deuces, everybody.